Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. This is Lifestyle Critic, where we break down movies and TV shows into their core elements. And in this video we are going to be reviewing the Chronicles of Narnia Prince Caspian, which is the sequel and second installment in the Chronicles of Narnia franchise. And this one is a lot more darker and serious in tone, and is focused a lot more on the action aspects. It's very Game of Thrones inspired, but because of the fact that it's focused so much on the action sequences, it's not got as much fantasy aspects to it, and it's not as epic or escapist, and if anything it's pretty repetitive. I mean, it was really interesting to kind of see what's happened to the world of Narnia after the four Pevensie kids who were ruling Narnia for 15 years kind of left, and kind of seeing the invasions that happened and what has the result meant for the world of Narnia. So that was really interesting, but because of the fact that it was focused so much on the action sequences, it just didn't have as much magic, wonder or fantasy, and I'm going to be breaking it all down for you in this movie review. So from a storyline point of view, a year has passed since the ending of A Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and the kids are called back into the world of Narnia as they need to help out. In Narnia world, 1,300 years have passed since the ending of the first movie, and now the Narnians have retreated as Narnia has been overtaken and invaded by a group of people called the Telmarines. Now the Telmarines have a prince who is called Prince Caspian, who is kind of their current ruler, and he's got an uncle who has just had a son, and now the uncle wants to become the king and he wants his son to be the new ruler, so he wants to go out and kill Prince Caspian. Prince Caspian is then joining the Narnians, and then there's a bit of an epic battle war type sequence between the Telmarines and the Narnians, and is really focused on this aspect. It also looks at the betrayal that this king character is doing to his nephew, the prince character, and kind of looks at emotion getting the better of people on a number of different instances. But like I said, it's kind of a lot more focused on this Game of Thronesy political war type aspect, as opposed to the magical fantasy escapist aspect compared to what the franchise is actually known for. So it's a very different installment compared to the first movie and the third movie, but you know, that being said, it is really gripping from a storyline point of view. So from a casting characters point of view, all of the casting characters from the first movie are back, on top of the fact that there are loads of new characters in this movie as well. So there are loads of different characters in this film, and they kind of balance all of the different storylines really well. So let's go through them one by one. So first up we have William Mosley, who is returning as the Peter character. I really like what they've done with this character's development throughout this movie. So at the end of the first movie, he was obviously ruling Narnia for 15 years, and then he has to go back into the real world and re-enter school life. So he's obviously a little bit confused with that, but then when he goes back into Narnia, obviously loads of years have passed since then, and now there's a new ruler. So kind of seeing the conflict that this character has is really great, really understandable and really believable. There are some scenes where this character is fighting King Miaz in terms of who is going to be the person that is going to rule Narnia again. I do feel like he was kind of overstepping the mark there, as it really should have been Prince Caspian. I know he kind of gave the sword to him later on, but I do feel like the Peter character was really overstepping the mark at certain points where you could really understand where he was coming from. Next up we have Anna Popplewell, who is returning as the Susan character. This time she's a lot more involved in all of the battle sequences with her archery. She kind of has a bit of a holiday romance with the Prince Caspian character, but other than that, she doesn't really do that much in this movie. I have said in my previous review that this character is probably the weakest in terms of character development across the three films. Next up we have Skander Keynes, who is back as the Edmund character. I think he's a lot more involved in the first movie and especially in the third movie, but as far as this film is concerned, you know, he's kind of matured a lot more, and he's also a lot more involved from the Narnian side this time. Next up we have Georgie Henley, who is back as the Lucy character, and again she's the heart of the franchise. She really kind of loves the Narnian world, really has a lot of faith in all of it as well, and is kind of helping everyone re-find the Aslan character, who's going to kind of be their saviour again. Next up we have Ben Barnes, who is playing the Prince Caspian character, and I feel like he's integrated into the ensemble really well. His acting gets a lot better in the third movie. In this movie, it wasn't that great, but you know, that being said, you can really understand where this character is coming from in terms of being really innocent, kind of being taken advantage of by his uncle, being really emotional in certain aspects as well, and his arc is really well continued in the next movie. Next up we have King Miaz, who is really inspired by the king in the Hamlet Shakespearean movie, and he kind of wants to betray his nephew and take over the world of Narnia and be its true ruler. Next up we have Aslan, who's got a much more reduced role in this movie, but you know, he is there and he is kind of going to help all of these different characters. We also have the White Witch, we have Tilda Swinton kind of making a bit of a cameo appearance in this movie as well. We also have Peter Dinklage in this movie as well, playing the dwarf Trumpkin character. I feel like with Peter Dinklage, some of his performances are great, some of them are not so great, but thankfully in this movie, he plays the dwarf character really, really well. He's really, really sarcastic, he's not really that trusting of the Pevensie kids, but he works really, really well as part of the ensemble as well. And then finally we have Eddie Izzard, who brilliantly brings the Reapy Cheap Mouse character, the swashbuckling mouse that actually defeats a lot of the Telmarines and is really hilariously continuing his arc in the next movie as well. So like I said, loads of new characters entering into this franchise, and they really do flesh it out really, really well. So from a visuals point of view, you know, the scenery in this film looks absolutely breathtaking. They did a lot of the filming in Central Europe, and as such, all of the different scenery, all of the different set pieces, all of the different locations that they go to look absolutely spectacular. Like I said before, you know, it's very action based, which is a little bit detracting at certain points, but you know, that being said, those scenes are also really, really epic, really, really powerful, really, really monumental, and in certain aspects is really emotional from certain character arcs point of view as well. So from a visuals point of view, they do not disappoint in Prince Caspian. So from a comparison point of view, I was actually at Walt Disney World when Prince Caspian was released, so I've got a little bit of a biased opinion in terms of really, really liking this movie because of the fact that I was kind of there, kind of seeing the whole world being created for the Prince Caspian character. You know, if I am to be a little bit critical, I would say within the franchise of the three movies, it probably is the weakest one of the three, but you know, that being said, as its own standalone title, it is really, really great. You know, I mean, you are captured into the world of Narnia, all of the different characters are really, really cool, all of the visuals are absolutely amazing. Whilst it is a little bit too focused on the action aspect, you know, it is really, really cool as its own movie title. So overall, you know, I did enjoy Prince Caspian. I mean, it's got brilliant casting, great character arcs, really, really cool battle sequences. Certain moments are a little bit repetitive and it's not as epic and escapist and fantasy based as the other two movies are, but you know, that being said, it is a really, really cool movie, and for all of those reasons, I have to give it a solid 5.5 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you think, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.